sat up for a bit of a yarn, so both haven't had much sleep. We were up yarning for a while last night, but yeah, Rebecca Wingfield from South Australia. Mark, thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I'd like to acknowledge the Larrakia Nation and the elders, ancestors, and all the really amazing aunties and uncles and all the supporters that have turned out on a Sunday afternoon. I'm sitting here because we went through this issue in South Australia with the Muckaty and we were able to block the waste dump going to a place that they targeted called Billa. However, that had ramifications for the people in Tennant Creek and in other places because the government, despite overwhelming support at the local, community level, family level, national and international level, for us to be able to defeat the waste dump there, it meant that it opened it up around the rest of Australia. Which on the one hand, we're really happy that we beat them over the waste dump in South Australia, and there's a lot of people who walked with us through that journey. Too many to name, but you know who you are. And it kind of saddens me that we're down the road again and we're still talking about how we're going to block the waste dump. But there are some good things, that we are now in a different logistical level in terms of we've managed to push a lot of things through at an international level, including a key document, and we'll get some printed out, called the Manila Declaration, which I worked on in Manila last year, and it was a document that now makes it some strong guidelines based on Indigenous people who are facing the onslaught of mining and the extractive industries and corporate accountability. We've got a framework for global recourse, and it also is important that we start to workshop the UN principles because having done human rights and anti-nuclear campaigning for about 25 years, I'm pretty well tired. I'm not as old as some of my mother, and I'd like to acknowledge my mother, Eileen Wingfield, and the Muckaty. They've really stood up strongly, but now we've gone to an international level because domestically here in Australia, we need to begin the important task of how we bring back, and the government actually relinquishes its position in terms of Australia belongs to Aboriginal people, and with the Prime Minister signing the declaration, we now have to work as a guiding principle from right across Australia with all the people, right across from everywhere, that Australia's going to come back to us and how we're going to have that process happen and how we're going to ask and demand that our current Prime Minister enshrines the Declaration of Indigenous Rights, which he signed on the 3rd of April last year. This is a lot to go through, and I'm happy to talk to everybody about it. But he signed a document that recognised our rights, and in Manila we prepared a document that stipulated how they go about and what our rights are as the Aboriginal peoples of this country and the world, and how they have to actually start being attached to human rights mechanisms. And so that's what I've been working on a lot. Plus also just been saying no, because we've been facing BHP Billiton and it's pretty full on. I mean, this is a company that makes $80 billion a year profit, and we're battling them on our app study, on our dole, and cars that are 30 years old, and maybe, if we're lucky, we have a computer, but if your laptops aren't even there. So we're still doing it hard, but we've got a lot of human rights mechanism now happening, and now we're opening up the dialogue to the Aboriginal community and our supporters, because we have some principles that our leader, our Prime Minister, has signed on, and they now must be brought to accountability, and we must request that they enshrine our rights, which he signed last year in the Constitution, and we have to begin to think, how are we going to nurture this country? And my job is just the logistics, really, and then I'm going to sit quietly, but we've got to start talking, because this is our country and they have to give it back, and we've gone to the UN, and they also are aware that we're putting through a genocide case, and I've been working a lot with the Aboriginal 10 Embassy. So I'm here to help you people. My niece and I found out something there, Mishi, and I'm here to offer any kind of help. And if anybody wants to know anything, but we really have to push our government, Commonwealth, to legislate for the Declaration's rights and all the other rights that we are not being delivered, and yet they've signed major conventions and treaties. So they're actually lying to the rest of the world, and it's time to bring about that accountability process closer to home and to really look at how we're going to step. And bringing the waste up to anybody's country, I mean, I think that there's another level too. The scientific community, the mining community, they have to have their own accountability about the areas that they're working in. I mean, they don't have any measures for safeguards for how they handle this poison, how they deliver it, and so they have to be brought into accountability, and that's one of the things that we put through on the Manila Declaration. Anyway, I don't know what to say to people who've travelled a long way. I came on the aeroplane and it was quite a